It was past midnight when Ethan boarded the last train home. He had stayed late at work, again, tapping away at spreadsheets in a nearly empty office. Rain drizzled outside as he made his way through the city's underground station, jacket soaked, eyes heavy. The platform was nearly empty. Only a few silent passengers stood apart, faces hidden under umbrellas or behind glowing phones. A train screeched into the station, its headlights cutting through the mist like a blade. Ethan hesitated. It wasn't the usual line he took, but the digital sign above the train door flickered. Northbound, last stop, Rosebridge. That was his stop. He stepped inside. The train was eerily quiet. No music, no announcements, just the soft hum of the engine and the occasional flicker of the overhead lights. Ethan took a seat by the window and glanced around. All the passengers were sitting perfectly still. No one was talking. No one was on their phone. A woman in a red coat stared blankly ahead. A man in a dusty suit held a briefcase tightly on his lap, knuckles white. A teenage boy had headphones on, but no music was playing. Ethan pulled out his phone. No signal. He looked out the window. The train had already left the city, but the view was unfamiliar. Dark forests, empty fields, no buildings, no streetlights. 20 minutes passed. Still no announcement. No stop. Ethan stood and walked to the door between cars. He opened it and stepped into the next car. It was the same car. Same woman in the red coat. Same man with the briefcase. Same boy with the silent headphones. He looked behind him. The door he came through was gone. There was only one door now. Forward. A cold sweat broke across Ethan's back. He walked to the conductor's booth and knocked. No answer. He knocked again. Harder. A voice, muffled and cold, came from behind the door. "You already got off, Ethan." His blood froze. He hadn't told anyone his name. Ethan stumbled back from the conductor's door, heart pounding. "You already got off, Ethan." He pressed his ear to the cold metal, but there was only silence now. No footsteps, no voice, just the quiet hum of the train moving, always moving, through a darkness that had no end. He turned around. The car was different. There were more passengers now. Dozens of them. All of them sitting perfectly still, facing forward, their faces pale and blank like mannequins. Their eyes didn't blink. Some of them weren't even breathing. Ethan's voice cracked. "Hello? Can someone tell me where this train is going?" No one answered. He walked slowly down the aisle, glancing at the passengers. Some looked like regular people, but others. One man wore a hospital gown, his chest wrapped in dried, blood-stained bandages. A little girl clutched a melted teddy bear, her lips moving silently, as if reciting something over and over. A woman's neck was tilted at an impossible angle, head barely hanging on by the skin. Ethan turned away, bile rising in his throat. He reached the door at the end of the show. No knob, no handle, just a mirror where the exit should be. In the reflection, he saw himself, but his reflection was smiling. He wasn't. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the passengers turned their heads toward him at the same time. Ethan gasped, stumbling back. The mirror door slid open on its own. Beyond it was another car, but this one was different. It was empty, dark, cold, and at the far end stood a figure, tall, still, wearing the conductor's hat. Its face was wrapped in black cloth. Ethan stepped forward, against every instinct screaming in his body. "Where is this train going?" he demanded. The figure didn't move, but a whisper rose from all around him, as if the train itself were speaking. "To the place you forgot." Suddenly, Ethan remembered something, like a flash in his mind. A hospital room, flashing red lights, the sound of tires skidding, his phone buzzing with 7 missed calls from Mom. He staggered, gripping the seat. The conductor began to walk toward him, slow, deliberate. Ethan turned and ran. Back through the cars, faces staring, mouths opening in silent screams. Back to the car he first entered, but it was no longer there, just darkness on both ends now. And the voice behind him, soft and final. "There are no exits on this line, Ethan. Not anymore." The lights above Ethan flickered violently, then died. Only the glow of his own trembling phone screen lit the train car, now silent as a grave. He opened the flashlight app, shining it down the aisle, but it barely pierced the thick darkness ahead. He turned behind him. The conductor was gone. So were the passengers. The train was completely empty. Or almost. A seat near the back now held something that hadn't been there before. A stack of photographs. He approached slowly, the beam of his phone shaking in his hand. The photos were old, faded, stained like they'd been buried underground. But they were all of him, smiling with friends, sitting in his childhood room, holding a birthday cake with 24 on it. And then the last photo was of him on this train, tonight, head down, eyes closed. The timestamp on the back read 12:12 a.m., time of departure. Ethan dropped the photo. His mouth went dry. "This isn't real," he whispered. But something was changing again. The air grew colder, his breath fogged, and faintly from somewhere far away, he heard crying. He followed the sound down the corridor, through another mirror door that hissed open at his touch. On the other side wasn't another car. It was a hospital hallway, dim, colorless. Machines beeped in the distance. The crying grew louder. He stepped through, heart pounding, and saw his mother, sitting in a plastic chair, head in her hands, shaking with sobs. She looked younger, more fragile, and beside her, through the glass window of a hospital room, was him, wires in his arms, bandage on his head, lying still, too still. His legs gave out. He collapsed to his knees. "No, no, this can't be." But a nurse walked by. Didn't see him. Another passed, straight through him. "I'm not here," Ethan whispered. "I never got off the train, because I never left it." Suddenly, a child's voice whispered behind him. "We all stayed too long, Ethan." He turned. The girl with the melted teddy bear stood there. "Some of us missed the signs," she said. "Some of us weren't ready. Some of us refused to believe we were gone." She turned, walking back into the shadows. "But you have a choice." The hallway melted away. He was back in the train. The lights were flickering again. The speakers crackled for the first time. A cold, metallic voice echoed through the car. "Next stop, Memory Crossing. Last chance to get off." Ethan stood there, breath shallow, staring at the sliding doors as they slowly opened. Beyond them, a blinding white light, and in that light, a silhouette, a woman. Ethan. It was his mother's voice. Alive, calling him. The doors slid open. White light flooded the train car, bathing everything in a pale glow. Ethan raised his hand to shield his eyes and saw her more clearly now. His mother, standing just beyond the threshold, tears in her eyes, arms open. Her voice cracked as she called again. "Ethan, come home, please." Everything in him screamed to run forward, to leap into her arms, to leave this nightmare behind. But something held him back. Behind him, the train groaned, a low metallic sound like something ancient waking up. The floor beneath his feet trembled. The lights flickered blood red for a moment, and then he heard the conductor's voice again, whispering directly into his ear. "This stop isn't for you." Ethan turned. The car was no longer empty. The seats were full again, filled with the passengers who didn't move, who didn't blink. All of them were staring at him now, mouths slightly open, eyes wide with longing. "You don't belong there," one of them rasped. "You saw too much." "You remembered what you shouldn't," hissed another. "This train is truth," whispered the girl with the teddy bear. "That light is forgetting." Ethan backed away, breath ragged. "No, no. I want to forget. I want to live." The conductor appeared at the end of the car, but this time he wasn't hidden. His face was Ethan's own, older, hollow, eyes completely black. "There's no home left to return to," it said. The door to the light began to close slowly. Ethan ran. Just before the door shut completely, he threw himself through. There was a sound like tearing fabric, like time itself splitting open. And then silence. He opened his eyes. A hospital room. Beeping. Machines. He gasped for air. Nurses rushed in. A doctor shouted. It had been 5 days since Ethan woke up in the hospital. He was healing, physically. But something was wrong. At night, he dreamed of train tracks, endless, curving into blackness. The screech of metal. The girl with the teddy bear whispering, "You didn't choose. You escaped." And every morning, there were strange signs. His hospital bed rolled slightly at night, as if on unseen wheels. The heart monitor beeped in triplets. 3 beeps, silence. 3 beeps, like a distant train signal. His reflection in the mirror sometimes lagged behind his movements. Ethan finally left the hospital. His mother took him home, cooked him his favorite meal, smiled more than she had in years. But she flinched every time the kettle hissed, every time the floor creaked. And once Ethan found her staring out the window, whispering, "I saw it too, years ago." He froze. "What do you mean?" She didn't answer. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He went online, looked for anything. Stories of trains, near-death experiences, unexplained passengers. At 3:33 a.m., a message popped up in a hidden forum thread. "You got off too?" He replied, hands shaking. "Yes. How do I stop it from coming back?" No answer. But the next morning, a package arrived at his door. No return address, no name. Inside, a black train token, ice cold, a sheet of yellowed paper that read, "There are others. We meet at Platform 0. Midnight, bring nothing. Don't be late." Platform 0 didn't exist on the city map. But Ethan remembered a place from his childhood, an abandoned underground line no one talked about anymore. He went there that night, and at 12:00 a.m. exactly, he found them. A group of 6, all with the same hollow look in their eyes, all wearing hospital bands on their wrists. "Welcome back," said one of them. "We're not survivors, we're stowaways." The oldest among them, a woman named Judith, explained, "The train isn't a dream. It's not a metaphor. It's a system. It collects those between life and death. Some wake up, some don't. But if you get off before your final stop, it hunts you." Ethan clenched the token in his hand. "Then how do we stop it?" They all looked at each other. Judith's eyes narrowed. "You don't stop the train. You get back on and take control of it." Suddenly, a sound echoed through the tunnel, 3 long screeches, far away but getting closer. One of the group whispered, "It's early tonight." The light at the end of the tracks began to glow. The train was coming. The tunnel shook. Loose dust fell from the cracked ceiling as the screech of iron wheels echoed louder, closer. A gust of freezing wind whipped through Platform 0, carrying the unmistakable scent of smoke and rust. The train was arriving. The stowaways didn't move. Judith raised one hand, firm. "No one boards unless it calls your name." Ethan stepped back, heart pounding. But then, from deep inside the approaching darkness, the speakers crackled and a low, distorted voice whispered, "Ethan Ward, 1 ticket, 1 seat." Everyone turned toward him. Even Judith looked surprised. "It's chosen you." "Again," someone muttered. The train burst from the tunnel mouth, old, dented, windows blackened with soot. It screeched to a stop without a conductor in sight. The doors slid open. The inside was empty. Just one seat, lit by a soft, golden light. Ethan stared into the void beyond the doors. His knees felt weak. "Why me?" he whispered. Judith approached slowly, her voice calm but urgent. "Some of us were called to run, but you were invited back. Why?" "Because something's changing. The train isn't just collecting the dead anymore. It's recruiting." Ethan looked at the others, silent, watching. "If I get back on, I might not come back." Judith nodded. "Or you might come back different." He stepped forward, one foot on the steel floor. The air turned heavier. The world behind him fell away, and the doors hissed shut. Inside, the train was not how he remembered. It was alive. Walls pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. Windows showed nothing, only flashes of memory, people he knew, moments long gone. A seat appeared before him and sank gently to the floor as he sat. The lights above him flickered. A screen slid down from the ceiling. Words typed themselves across it. "Welcome aboard, Ethan Ward. Would you like to review your file?" Before he could answer, the screen played. The car crash. The hospital. The decision to wake up. And then something he didn't remember. A scene in a white room. Surgeons standing still. Time frozen, and a voice whispering to him, "You were never meant to wake up." Ethan stood. "What is this?" From the shadows at the front of the car, his reflection emerged again. Older, eyes black, still wearing the conductor's hat. "You chose escape, Ethan, but now you must choose purpose." The train shuddered. Ethan stood before the throne of rails, cold iron, pulsing with unseen power. The air shimmered around him, alive with whispers. Each rail stretched out into a different world, some leading to memories, some to nightmares, some to the places where lost souls waited in silence. Behind him, the conductor, his reflection, spoke once more. "Take the seat, Ethan, and you're running." But Ethan didn't move. He stared at the throne, then at his own hands, still shaking, still warm. "I don't want power," he said. "Then you'll be a passenger forever," replied the reflection. Suddenly, he heard her voice again. "Ethan, wake up." It was faint, but it was his mother. He turned. One of the rails, thin, barely visible, shimmered with a soft light. It led to a hospital room. To now, she was holding his hand, crying, whispering his name. A flatline beep echoed faintly in the void. "She's calling you back," the conductor said. "But that rail will vanish if you don't choose now." "So what happens if I go back?" "You live, you forget, and this place waits again. And if I stay?" The conductor smiled with empty eyes. "You take the burden. You ride forever. You pull others out of the dark, or you become it." Ethan looked one last time at the throne, then back to the shimmer of life calling him. And in that moment, he understood. The train didn't belong to death. It didn't belong to life. It belonged to the space in between, the moment of choice. And he had one. He turned his back on the throne, walked down the glowing rail. The voices screamed, the metal wailed. The train shuddered and cried as it tried to close the gate behind him. But he ran. Faster. Faster. His chest lurched, a jolt of breath, eyes wide open. The hospital. His mother sobbing in relief. Nurses gasping. The doctor whispering, "He's back." Days passed. Ethan recovered, but every time he rode a train, he listened. At night, he sometimes woke up sweating, hearing that voice, "Next stop." But he had chosen. He lived, and in doing so, the train no longer owned him. Yet sometimes when a person slips into a coma, when a flat line begins, a train can be heard moving through the dark, and a new seat is waiting. But not for Ethan, not anymore.